Let us now understand how do we write equation from the given graph of rational function. There are three types of equations which can be written. We'll look into all of them one by one. Master the strategies with Anil Kumar and enjoy the journey of learning. Write the equation representing the given graph in the form g of x equals to c over x minus a times x minus b. Verify the equation by using point P. It's a very important concept, right? You should identify a point on the curve which can verify that your equation is perfect. Great. So let's first consider how we can get the equation from a graph. The orange line indicate the vertical asymptotes, right? So, what is the vertical asymptote? For any reciprocal kind of a function, the denominator 0 leads to vertical asymptote. So, x equals to a will be one vertical asymptote, and x equals to b will be the other vertical asymptote. So, the value of a and b you can find from these two vertical asymptotes. So, it becomes very clear how do we get the denominator. You get the idea, right? Now, the concept of getting C. Check with a point. Now, if you have y-intercept, like shown here, it is very easy. Since this point is x0 and y value, then you can find the value of C. Makes sense, right? So, this is the concept which we are going to use and get equation of graphs. Very easy. You can do it in few minutes. I think less than a minute. So, let's look into our first graph where identify the vertical asymptotes. So first one is what? X equals to what? So it is minus 2. The other one is x equals to 3. So we got two x vertical asymptotes. So we have a equals to minus 2 and b equals to plus 3, right? So if I replace a and b, I get the function g of x equals to c over x minus or minus 2 makes it plus, right? So this factor will be x plus 2. And here we have x minus 3. Makes sense. No difficulty at all, right? Now to find the value of c, identify the point P, which in this case is how much? It is 0 minus 2, right? 0 minus 2. So 0 is the x value, minus 2 is g of x. So we get minus 2 equals to c over 0 plus 2, correct? Means 2, right? 0 minus 3 means minus 3. So c over minus 6. And therefore, we get minus 2 times minus 6 as the value of c, which is 12 for us. Correct? We got our answer. So simple, right? We can write g of x as equal to 12 over x plus 2 times x minus 3. Nothing can be simpler than this, right? So that is how we find the equation. Now, explore the next graph. Write down your answer and then check the result with that of mine. So, as I said, first find what are these vertical asymptotes, correct? So, you can write this as x equals to what? X equals to what? Those are a and b values also, right? So, the first one here is minus 3. The second one is uh, on the right hand side, 2. So we know that a is minus 3 and b is 2, right? So we have the function g of x this time as c over x plus 3 times x minus 2. Now look for the point. Point P is the y-intercept given to us as 0, 2. So write down point P as 0, 2. Substitute in the function to find the value of c. So we have 2 equals to c over 0 there will give you 3 times minus 2. Perfect. So which is c over minus 6. Multiplying, you get minus 12 equals to c. And therefore, we can write down the function g of x this time is minus 12 over x plus 3 times x minus 2. Perfect. As simple as that. That is how you get the equation of this reciprocal quadratic function in the form given to us. Watch our playlist. You'll have many examples where we are going to deal with equations of different forms. I hope the concept is going to help you. So, in the playlist, you'll find many such examples. Just to give you an idea, one set will be devoted on writing equations in the form shown, the others will be of the other form. Then we'll also look into the reciprocal type of quadratic equations. So they all form the set of rational functions. Let's begin with the very first form, which is f of x equals to a plus b over x minus c. We need to write the equation of the given graph, and a point is given here, point P. With the help of point P, you can verify that your equation is correct. I'm going to share with you a strategy, and then within few seconds, less than a minute, we'll get the equation of these graphs. We are pioneers in making such videos. If you watch our playlist, maximum number of videos for high school students mathematics will be here on our channel. Explore and learn. Now, when you have an equation of the form f of x equals to a plus b over x minus c, in that case, the horizontal asymptote will be y equals to a. It really means that when x approaches the value which is negative or positive infinity, let me write positive infinity for now. In that case, the value of y approaches a. The reason is very clear that if I divide b by infinitely large value, right, what do you get? The second term will be 0, so function will approach a. In the graph, it is shown with the horizontal line, and that is the line which is y equals to a, and it is the horizontal asymptote for this rational function graph. Also understand that the vertical asymptote will be when the denominator is 0, and that is when x equals to c. So this orange dotted line represents x equals to c, which is a vertical asymptote. So clearly from any graph, you can see the value. So if this is 1, for example, and this is 2, for example, you know the value of A is 1, right? And for C is 2, correct? Now it is a question of finding what is the value of B. So to find the value of B, what you can do is you can substitute the value for x, correct? And for that particular value of x, which is 3, you should get the y value, which is also 3. Then you get the value of b. You understand this strategy, correct? So that is how we are going to solve all these questions. We'll have a couple of graphs for you to practice. I hope you have understood this strategy. Also, welcome to my series and the channel. In the channel, you have thousands of videos. We have playlists, well organized videos. You can watch them and master these strategies. Some of you who want to learn directly can send an email on globalmathinstitute@gmail.com. Our students are worldwide and they are getting admission to the best universities. Let's now begin with the very first graph which I had with you. So, when you look at a graph, what you need to do is identify what is the horizontal asymptote. So, in this case, you can see that horizontal asymptote is y equals to 1. And clearly, that gives you a value of a as equal to 1. And now you identify the vertical asymptote. Vertical asymptote, as you can see, is x equals to 2. See, x equals to 2 is a vertical line, and that means the value of c is equal to 2. To find the value of b, let us write this function f of x with the values which already got 1 plus b over c is 2, so x minus 2. So if I see the point P, then the coordinate points are that for the value of x which is 3, the y value is also 3. So we are looking for 3 as the y value. So 1 plus 2 will give us 3, correct? 1 plus 2 will give us 3. So let's find out what is the value at x equals to 3, right? At x equals to 3, we know we should get 3, correct? Which should be equal to 1 plus b over 3 minus 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3 and 3 minus 1 is basically equal to 1. And so we can easily get that 2 is equal to, taking 1 on this side, is equals to b over 1, or we know that b is 1, b is 2, right? So that gives us b as 2. So now since we know that b is 2, we can rewrite the function, and the function therefore f of x is now equal to 1 plus 2 over x minus 2. You get the idea. So that is how you get the equation of the given graph. Perfect. I hope the strategy is absolutely clear. Now let's take up another example only for your practice. I'd like you to pause the video, answer the question, and then look into my suggestions. That will help, right? So once again, we look into the horizontal asymptote, which is for us at minus 1 this time, right? So y equals to minus 1 means a is equal to minus 1. Okay? The vertical asymptote which you are seeing here is now at 3, right? So which is at x equals to 3 means c is equal to 3. Identify the point given to you, point P. The coordinate values are the x value seems to be 4, right? And the y value is minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. That means in the function f of x, if I substitute 4 for x, correct? We know a is minus 1 plus b over c is 3, so x minus 3, correct? Now we are looking for minus 3, right? We are looking for minus 3. And I want to write x as 4 because x is 4. You get the idea. So the denominator is 1, which is minus 1, right? Plus b, correct? So therefore, we know b is equal to what? And this is output f of 4 is minus 3, right? So b is equals to minus 3 plus 1, which is minus 2. So we get the function f of x as equal to minus 1 plus minus 2 over x minus 3. Makes sense. Now it is a good practice to rewrite with minus plus as negative. Perfect. And therefore, now I'm going to write down this answer as the function f of x equals to minus 1 minus 2 over x minus 3. Makes sense. So you see, because of this negative, the function has been reflected on the x-axis. Perfect. A behavior changes a bit. Perfect. So I hope it makes sense. Here is the third graph for you. Take it as a test question. Perfect. And then I hope you'll master the strategy. After this, we'll move on to the second variety of equation. Right. So here once again, what is the horizontal asymptote? Well, the horizontal asymptote is y equals to minus 2. Y equals to minus 2 means a is minus 2. Perfect. The vertical asymptote is x equals to minus 1. Means that c is equal to minus 1. Correct. And from here we can write f of x equals to minus 2 plus b over x plus 1. Makes sense. Because c is minus 1. So minus of minus 1 will give us plus 1. Now, let's look at the point P, right? Point P is the y-intercept at x equals to 0. We get y as 1. So substituting 0 for x, we get f of x as 1, right? So shortcut plus b over x equals to 0 plus 1. Correct. Bringing 2 to this side, we get 1 plus 2 equals to b over 1 or b, which means b is 3. And since b is equal to 3, let me write here first. Then we could rewrite a function f of x as equal to minus 2 plus 3 over x plus 1. Makes sense. So see, we have done three graphs with this kind of an equation, a plus b over x minus c, where really a is the horizontal asymptote, right? And c is the vertical asymptote. You can find the value of b by using a point on the graph. You can select any good point from the graph. Perfect. Now, in the second set, we are going to rearrange the equation in the form ax plus b over cx plus d and take questions based on this. I hope you're enjoying and learning with my videos. Feel free to send requests. I can share with you the related videos absolutely free. You can then follow up with our playlist with more practice questions. As you know, we are pioneers in providing you with quality videos for high school students. Follow us and learn more. The question here is, write the equation representing the given graph in the form of f of x equals to ax plus b over cx plus d. Verify the equation by using the point P. So let's look into the graph. Here is a point P, and we are also showing vertical and horizontal asymptotes with the help of dotted orange lines so that you can clearly see what we are up to. Now, first, before getting into solving, let's understand what does it really mean, right? Great. Now, since the horizontal and vertical asymptotes are given to us, from this graph, horizontal asymptote is when x approaches infinitely large value. It could be positive or negative. For now, we'll just take positive. Now, if x is very large positive value, what happens to f of x, right? So f of x, if it approaches a value L, then y equals to L is the horizontal asymptote. Right? Now, you can always rewrite this expression as taking x common, right? If you take x common, you get a plus b over x, correct, in the numerator. In the denominator also, taking x common gives you c plus d over x. Now clearly from here, you could cancel the x's. So you have a plus b over x and c over d over x. Now what happens when x approaches infinity? When x approaches infinity, then b over x approaches 0, right? Even d over x, anything over x will approach 0. So that means what happens to function? Function approaches a over c. Do you see that? Now, so we can say very clearly that in this case, f of x approaches a over c, and therefore the horizontal asymptote is basically equal to y equals to a over c. Is that clear? So horizontal asymptote is this particular ratio, the coefficients of x in such an equation. Clear? The other part, vertical asymptote, is relatively simple. For vertical asymptote, denominator need to be 0. Means this part, correct? So Cx plus d equals to 0. And from here, we know Cx is minus d or x is minus d over c. So that becomes the vertical asymptote, right? So let me rewrite here. Vertical asymptote is x equals to minus d over c, correct? And horizontal asymptote is y equals to a over c. Is that clear to you? So a over c is the value for y horizontal asymptote. Is that clear to you? There are many other parameters which are very important to figure out of which x and y intercepts are very critical. But like for example, here you could actually see the x-intercept, right? So let's analyze the x-intercept also. X-intercept really means what? It means y equals to 0. Means the numerator is 0, right? So means ax plus b equals to 0, and that gives you the value of x-intercept. X is equals to minus b by a. Let me complete it by giving you y-intercept also. Y-intercept is when x equals to 0. If I substitute x as 0, I get what? I get y equals to b by d. Correct. So b by d is basically the y-intercept. So let me write down here y-intercept is b by d. Is it okay? And the x-intercept, which I worked in uh, green, is equal to minus b by a. So in a way, in terms of a, b, c, and d, we have so many points on this particular graph. Very easy to work out. You need to figure out a strategy to get the answer, and that comes with practice. So let's take up questions to practice. So here is the very first graph for you. So I'll suggest go with the horizontal asymptote first, right? So horizontal asymptote, as you can see in this case, is y equals to minus 1. It really means that a over c is minus 1, right? So that means a over c is minus 1. Is that clear to you? So what I can take here is I can take a as minus 1 and c as 1, right? So I could actually write here as f of x equals to, the ratio is minus 1, right? So I could write even c as minus 1. But anyway, let's see. And write down the vertical asymptote also. Vertical asymptote is at x equals to 3. X equals to 3 is the vertical asymptote. So if I take c as 1, right? So if c equals to 1, let us say if c equals to 1, then what happens? In that case, if c is 1, in that case, we have x plus d, and we want this value to be 0 for 3. That means I could write this value at x minus 3. Makes sense? And here I can write it as minus x plus b. Makes sense? So see, in just analyzing these 2 points, we are able to write down a fruitful equation. Point P is given to us, and point P is for x value of 4, we have a value which is minus 3. So that should give you value of B, right? So that is one way of doing it. So if we have to use it, so we can use minus 3 and 4 here to get the value of B, right? So minus 3 for f of x, and the value we need to find, x is minus 4, minus x is 4. So I'll write minus 4, correct? We need to find the value of B, and here we have x as 4, 4 minus 3, right? So clearly we have an equation which is minus 3 equals to minus 4 plus b, right? And from here, we can take 4 on the right hand side, and that gives you the value of b as minus 3 plus 4, or 1. So b is 1. And therefore, we get our equation, which is f of x equals to minus x plus 1 over x minus 3. Makes sense? You can verify the equation with the x-intercept, right? But sometimes in this type of a graph, x and y-intercept are fraction values. Therefore, you cannot exactly get the answer. So taking up x-intercept may yield a wrong answer. You get the whole idea, correct? So that is the case. Perfect. So now in this particular case, as we have seen, the value of p was 4 and minus 3. Substituting 4 for x and minus 3 for y, and calculating the value of p, we got some value, and that satisfies the equation. That is how you should actually solve the graph. Use the point given to you. Perfect. So I hope it is absolutely clear. Now, let's take up the second question, which will help you master this strategy. So once again, we'll follow the same procedure. So we have a vertical asymptote here and the horizontal asymptote. We need to write their equations. Horizontal asymptote is y equals to minus 1 and the vertical asymptote is x equals to minus 1. Sorry, 0, right? X equals to 0. So x equals to 0 is your vertical asymptote. And that clearly indicates that in this particular case, only x is there in the denominator, right? Correct? Because the value of d is 0, right? And y is minus 1 means I can take a as minus 1, right? So a equals to minus 1, correct? We can write c as 1 and we know d as equal to 0 since vertical asymptote is x equals to 0. So we get all this. We can write f of x as equal to minus x plus b over x. Is that clear to you? Now to find the value of b, we are given a point p, which is right there. For x equals to 1, the y value is 2. So we'll write 2 here, minus 1 plus b over 1. So basically, we are given 2 equals to minus 1 plus b, or the value of b is 2 plus 1, which is 3. And therefore, we can write down our function. So the function f of x is minus x plus 3 over x. Makes sense. So that is how we are going to write our equation. I hope it makes sense. The best strategy is to work with horizontal and vertical asymptote to get a family of curve, right? Once you have the family of curve, to be specific, you need to know the point. Identify the value of point P and get the specific equation of the given graph. Hope it makes sense, right? Feel free to write your comment, share your views. If you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Thanks for your valuable time and all the best.